Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Today we are playing some BF3. I was feeling quite nostalgic and I thought, you know what, BF3 is as good a game as any to jump on when you're feeling nostalgic and you fancy playing some older games. So we'll see how it goes, and today this video is sponsored by Acer. I'm playing on a Predator Helios 500 gaming laptop that they sent over to me. It's got an i7, a GTX 1070 GPU in there, and you see the frame rate in the top right hand corner if any of you guys are interested in checking that out. And if we look at the settings here, we're playing 1080p 144 Hz. This laptop has a 144 Hz screen, so nice and smooth and all ultra. There will be a more detailed look at the laptop towards the end of the video for those that want to stick around. So then, Rush, when Rush was good, right? BF3. We've got the Scar here. Can we locate any targets? There is a tank in my way. I was gonna join a squad, but they're all full. Forever alone, man. It sucks. Can't see any targets. Usually there would be someone up on that bridge with a sniper, but apparently not. Anyways, I'm ready for the suppression. It's going to be great. I need to press Q. I've been playing too much BF5, you see. Is he going to actually use his gun on me? Oh, someone's in my squad. Yes. Oh, we could take the dinosaur up. Me and my friends used to call this the dinosaur. I'm going to wait for this dude if he jumps in. You want to jump in and get on the gun? Yeah, you do. This thing has got an awesome machine gun and grenade launcher, as he's demonstrated for me there. Got Penguin Kickapoo in the squad now too. Can't really take on that tank, so I'm gonna peel off to the left. Oh, I just shaved my head. Now Gunner, you're gonna have to do some work here. I'm gonna leave you there. I'm jumping out and I'm gonna plant the bomb. I'm being pushed here, aren't I, by like 20 different people. You see them on the minimap just swarming over to me like ants. If anyone just had a grenade, just put it on that MCOM. Nope, diffused. Come on, Penguin, where you at? Let's go. Not really pushed up. I thought he'd be further up than this. That tank is nasty. Vehicles are so good in this game. Rockets flying everywhere, man. Can go in the middle there. It's not a great spot, is it? Gunner can see me there. Let's go prone here. Keep the head down. So I'm going to peek there. Chuck another grenade. Is that tank still there? I don't know. I'm moving anyway. Just go prone. We're suppressed. Keep pushing up. Oh man, this Scar. Oh, what? How did he not die? There we go. Kill assist. Come on, Kickapoo. What a weird name. Oh god, that's not a great spawn, is it? Get up, buddy, let's go. Nice. I was just about to say we should probably try and get B before we go for A, although it looks like that tank has been destroyed. Defend this with my life. More enemies around the corner there. No one defusing it? Don't think so. Saw him on the minimap. And we planted A too. Throw that back if that was BF5. Try and get the recoil control back. I'll tell you what, this Scar though, man, I mean, It just makes me long for a modern Battlefield game again. Oh, we got the victory there. That was a lot faster than I expected. That's what she said. Okay, we're defending now. I'm trying to remember, how did I play this? Because they've got vehicles. Maybe I would have been engineer. I think I probably played engineer a lot, to be honest. Or sniper. Did I used to go up on that? Is that an enemy? Yeah, it is. He's going to go plant the MCOM. Oh, the Magnum. Oh, it's so good, this gun. This was the go-to secondary, wasn't it? Oh, that dude just got quick-scoped. It's just so good, the Magnum. Knife kill, knife kill. Yes. Oh, that's a nasty one. ACB 90. Ugh. Gross. More enemies here. Let's have a look if we got a decent sniper perch here. Right in the head. Say goodbye to it. No snipers over there. Nearly clocked him in the face. I'm not sure how far I can push up here. Oh, they've set A. A T-90? Where did he come from? Just rolled up out of nowhere, alright. Let's try again. That tank is all up in our spawn. Anyone here? It was. Sniper. He had the same idea as me, didn't he? He's dead, guys. Don't worry, I dealt with it. Watch out, he's going to try and plant that. He'll be low. That grenade did not kill him, really. God, I need to reload. Oh, it's a triple. Oh, baby. Or maybe I only got two. But they lined up nicely, didn't they? Wow. What gadgets do I have as a recon? A crossbow. I have a crossbow, guys. I don't. Oh no, the tanks are here. Do not want. You're an enemy. You're an enemy. Oh, he jumped out. No, the tank got me. Damn. Nope. We're going to have to lose this one. Oh, okay. Well, that means that the game will go on for longer, which is cool. Tag. Where did that engineer go? Missed him. Let's fall back. I feel like we're going to have to. Look at that skyline. Beautiful. Let's get the spawn beacon down here. You never know. Could be useful. Penguin. And head up here. I'm going to be the aggressive defensive recon. Does it even make sense? Probably not, but I'm going to go with it anyway. Kill assist. Another kill assist? I'm really good at tagging people with this, aren't I? Yeah. Oh, it's powerful. It feels so good. I feel like I'm Revolver Ocelot or something when I'm using that. We'll chill here. I can't do much against that tank, can I? Hey. We're cool, yeah? Turn my laser sight off. Let that tank go past. Yeah, he didn't see nothing.
Enemy soldier spotted. Over. Enemy sniper spotted. Over.
Have they noticed me? I don't think so. The Amtrak's there too, look. Okay, we're going to be very quiet here.
Enemy vehicle spotted.
Nice and stealthy. And I've been knifed. That scared the crap out of me. And then I repeatedly got killed by tanks and LAVs. 10 out of 10 would be a 3 again. Seriously though, it's so much fun to go back and play this game every now and again. Just the satisfaction of hosing people down with the Scar never gets old. The gunplay was just so damn good here. So then let's take a more detailed look at the laptop that I mentioned earlier. Acer very kindly sponsored this video and sent over the Predator Helios 500 here. Beautiful build quality and gaming performance. It just feels like a quality laptop. There's even a subwoofer underneath here, so you get good sound if you're not using a headset. And inside here, in terms of components, we've got an 8th gen Intel i7 8750H processor, and it's 6 cores with 12 threads with a max turbo frequency of 4.1 GHz, so gaming, rendering, whatever you want to do on here is going to go down well. And the GPU is an Nvidia GTX 1070, still a fantastic GPU for 1080p gaming. And yes, this is a true 144Hz G-Sync screen, so it's super smooth when you hit those frame rates. Very nice to play on actually. I think nowadays gaming laptops, they all need to have high frequency monitors because playing at 60Hz nowadays is just not nice. 16 gig of DDR4 memory, and we've got a backlit RGB keyboard, overclocking features and an Aeroblade 3D fan. Temperatures are very good. It's a great bit of kit, and if you want to know more, there's a link down in the description below that you can click on. With that said, that's all for today guys. I hope you enjoyed the BF3 live gameplay commentary. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a like. If you didn't, a dislike. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Last week we got a fantastic blog post covering all of the combat roles we can expect to see in BF5 at launch. This is part of a new wave of information that DICE are putting out there for Battlefield 5. In the last few weeks we've had more information about the game than probably the last 6 months, but the bottom line is we're getting the information that we need. So while last week covered the combat roles for each class, this week we've got the details on all of the vehicles, weapons and gadgets, and even the reinforcements that we're going to get our hands on in the full game at launch. So this one is very juicy. Let's get stuck in. First of all, at launch there are going to be 30 primary weapons in BF5. These are split into different categories. SMGs and shotguns are of course the up close and personal weapons. SMGs are for the medic class, and the assault class can equip the shotguns. Assault rifles on the other hand are classified as the big brother of the SMG, and these pack a bit more of a punch. We've all tried the STG on the assault class, so we know what to expect with the assault rifles. In theory these are designed for medium range. LMGs are of course the weapon of choice of the support class, and these are for sustained fire and suppression. And then we've got semi-automatic rifles, which in theory have more range than the assault rifles, self-loading rifles, and last of all, bolt action rifles, which of course are the sniper rifles of the game. So here is the list then. For assault rifles, there are 3 assault rifles in the base game. We already know of the STG, which is classed by many as the first ever real assault rifle in real life. It's very strong in the game, and most of us will already have experienced this rifle in the alpha and beta version of the game. And it's been revealed that we're going to get the Sturmgewehr 1.5, which is a selective fire version of the Gewehr 1.5 semi-automatic rifle. Looks pretty interesting. And lastly, for the assault rifles, we get the M1907 SF, which is supposedly similar to the M1 carbine, only heavier, and most importantly, more powerful. Next up is the semi-automatic rifles. First is the Selbstlade 1916, which should be reasonably familiar to most of us as it does appear in BF1. It's an early German semi-auto rifle that was extremely popular with the German forces. Only 1,000 were actually made though. The Gewehr 43 is next up, and we got to play around with that in the beta, so this one should be reasonably familiar to most. The blog claims that it's a rifle so strong that it can be used as a ladder rung if needed. Now I'm not going to go out and test that in real life, but I believe it. Next on the list is the Gewehr 1.5. This is the semi-auto rifle that was the basis for the Sturmgewehr 1.5 that we talked about earlier. It actually has the same detachable magazine as the STG 44. The last two weapons for the semi-autos are the M1A1 carbine, which is a pretty weak but fast firing semi-auto rifle, and then the Turner SMLE, which the blog states fires faster than the Gewehr 43 but has a weaker bullet at range. I think that's a good amount of variation in weapons and some interesting choices to make depending on your playstyle. The Turner SMLE and the M1A1 carbine were both also playable during the beta. Then of course we've got the bolt action rifles for the sniper class. The Lee Enfield No. 4 Mark 1 rifle was the default one available in the beta, so if you played as a sniper there's a good chance that you've tried it out. It's a good all-around rifle, but its bullet speed was definitely slower than the Kar 98, and the Kar 98 of course also available in the game, the other bolt action rifle that was available to try in the beta. It was actually the most popular bolt action rifle in the German army. My first introduction to the Kar 98 was probably in the original COD game or the Day of Defeat mod for Half-Life. It's such an iconic weapon. Unsurprisingly, the other two bolt action rifles are ones that we haven't seen just yet. The first is the Gewehr M95-30. There was a Gewehr M95 in Battlefield 1, and the blog mentions the fact that it was used during the First World War by the Austro-Hungarian army, so it's probably going to be the same rifle, or at least very similar. The second new bolt action is the Krag Jorgensen, which was a Norwegian designed rifle with an interesting magazine. It used a special type of magazine that loaded from the side rather than the top. Certainly makes for a slightly interesting design. The other recon weapons are the self-loading rifles. We got to experience the madness that was the ZH-29 during the beta, a two-shot kill super powerful rifle, but despite that I'm not entirely sure it's overpowered, having played with it a bit more in the beta, at least in its default state. Hard to judge really with so many possible upgrade options. I actually called it the RSC 2.0, but the RSC is also in the game as another self-loading rifle, and this was a French rifle that we got to see in BF1. Last up is the Model 8, which is a Remington rifle, but the patent was actually granted to John Browning in 1900, but then he sold it on to Remington. And then we've got medic weapons. The Sten, Suomi, EMP and the MP40 are ones that we've already experienced in testing. The Sten and Suomi are laser beams pretty much when upgraded and offer a really fast firing option up close. The MP40 on the other hand is a very iconic SMG. There are three other SMGs that we are yet to test. These are the MP28, which is an upgraded version of the MP18 from World War I and BF1, replacing the drum magazine with the straight one. And then we've also got the MP34, which was based on the older MP18. Last of all, the M1928A1, or the Tommy gun. We knew the Tommy gun would make its way into the game at some point, so it's a naturally good fit for the medic class. Moving on, when it comes to the light machine guns, we've got the KE7, which is a medium rate of fire LMG, which was available during the beta. Interesting fact, despite this gun being designed in Switzerland, the Swiss Army never even used it. The Lewis gun, an iconic LMG from World War I, it was used in World War II, and it did appear in BF1, but I feel like it was outclassed by a lot of the other options there. During the beta we got to play with the Bren 2. It was the one with the huge vertical top mounted box that took up a lot of view space. Didn't really like it. The FG42 was also available, and this one was extremely fast firing, bordering on capable of competing with some of the strongest weapons in the game. It's also the highest damage output weapon on the support kit, and we've got the MG34 and the MG42, and these are medium machine guns. The MG42, everyone knows what it is, and that actually replaced the MG34. Last of all, for the support guns, we get the M30 drilling shotgun. This was one that we've already seen and talked about and had a chance to play with, and it's got a selective fire allowing you to shotgun people up close or use the rifle barrel at the bottom for medium to long range engagements. Then the 12G automatic is the second shotgun. There are also 7 sidearms and 9 melee weapons. The sidearms are the P38 pistol, the Ruby, the P08 pistol, the repeater pistol M1912, the M1911, the FP45 Liberator and the MK V1 revolver. So that's all of the weapons at launch covered, but that's not quite it. We were also given all 16 gadgets that we're going to get to play with. We already know most of them, ammo crate and ammo pouch, flare gun, grenade launcher, the M49 spotting scope, medical crate and medical pouch, Panzerfaust 100, the Piat, the S35 bouncing Betty, the SMLE smoke grenade launcher, a sniper decoy had to coming back, spawn beacon, sticky dynamite, stern pistol and telemine. There are also going to be 7 reinforcements available at launch: the V1 rocket, the JB2 rocket, the Sturm Tiger, Churchill Crocodile, supply canister drop, T48 GMC half track and the SD KFZ 251 pack wagon. There is a bit of a different blend here. Of course, we've got the offensive rockets and we've seen how powerful the V1 and the JB2 rocket can be, completely wiping out all enemies and reinforcements on a point if you land a good one. The Sturm Tiger and the Churchill are powerful tank reinforcements, and the supply canister is more of a squad support item that I think you'll use on the bigger conquest style maps. The other two are powerful half tracks that are a little less OP than the 2 tank call-ins. In terms of stationary and towable weapons, we've got the Flak 38, the Pak 40, the QF6 PDR, the Vickers HMG tripod and the MG34 tripod. Then of course we've got vehicles. Let's start with the transports first. We've got the Kettenkrad, which is the small half track, then the Kurbelwagen, which is a small transport car, the M3 half track and the SD KFZ 251 half tracks, which again are larger transport vehicles, the latter not to be confused with the stronger squad call-in version, and finally the Universal Carrier. Now tanks, because there are lots of tank fans out there. When it comes to the tanks, we've already had a few of them available during the alpha and beta, and with various developer blogs we also already know most of them that are in the game. But the full list is as follows: the Churchill Mark 7, the Churchill Gun Carrier, the Flak Panzer IV, the Panzer 38, the Panzer IV, the Staghound T17E1, the Tiger 1, the Valentine AA Mark 1 and then the Valentine MK8. So 9 tanks in total then. Of course lots of players will want to know about the air vehicles, so here they are. The Spitfire is in, of course, a classic World War II plane, and we're going to get the MKVA and the MKVB options. Also available is the BF109G2 and the BF109G6. The Blenheim Mark 1 and the MKIF are in here too, as well as the Mosquito F Mark II, the JU88A and the JU87 Stuka B1 and B2 variants. This is a whole lot of vehicles and planes. So wrapping things up, by my count at launch of the game, this is everything that we have. 30 primary weapons, 7 sidearms, 9 melee weapons, 16 gadgets, 7 reinforcements, 5 stationary or towable weapons, and 24 vehicles, with the vehicles being broken down into 9 tanks, 5 transports and 10 aircraft. So if you don't include variants, I think that that's possibly more primary weapons than BF1 had at launch. Definitely less sidearms though. Of course with BF5 you would upgrade your weapons rather than having separate variants. So what do you guys think? Are you happy with all of the weapons and vehicles on offer here? Anything that you really wanted to see that isn't there? Remember, this is a live service, so weapons, maps, vehicles, gadgets will all be added down the line for free in the Tides of War service. The only thing that really sticks out in my mind is, can you really launch a World War II game without an M1 Garand in it? Well, it looks like we're not going to get the M1 Garand at launch, but the way DICE are doing this is chronological almost. So when the Americans are introduced in the live service, I'm sure that we'll get the M1 Garand to play with then. And that's all for today, folks. Do let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you didn't, a dislike. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one. Hello guys, hope you're all doing well. Today we're going to be talking about Battlefield 5 upgrades, and more specifically weapon upgrades. I've mentioned the current BF5 system in previous videos briefly, but I think that this is a topic that needs a bit more discussion because it's so fundamental to the overall gunplay, progression and gameplay in the game. Before we talk about what we think can be improved, first we can take a look at the current system. Right now every weapon has an upgrade tree of sorts. Play with the base weapon and you'll level it up over time. And when you reach certain levels, you're able to then buy upgrades for that weapon with a currency that you get from playing the game, doing assignments, among other things. Weapon upgrades depend on the current weapon that you're upgrading, so the upgrades for the STG will be quite different from those of the Kar 98 for example, but it will have some similarities. Usually the first one is a faster aim down the sight speed. Let's use the STG as an example. And this has got 9 upgrade options split over 2 paths of the skill tree. Technically there are 3 paths, but the first few upgrades are mandatory and you've got no choice over them. The 9 upgrades are quick aim, fast bullets, I feel like something got lost in translation there, more accurate hipfire, improved stationary accuracy, quick deploy, less horizontal recoil, faster movement while aiming, less vertical recoil, and finally improved moving accuracy. Now you can't have all 9 of these upgrades at once. In fact, you can only have a maximum of 5. You get to either choose the left hand path, which for the most part gives you better hipfire and lower vertical recoil, or you can choose the right hand path, which gives you improved stationary accuracy and less horizontal recoil. This, of course, is just one weapon as an example, the STG. So what's the problem with this system? Is there even a problem there? Well, at its core, I don't think that having a skill tree is the main problem. However, I have to admit that other players would perhaps prefer a more visual approach to upgrades on a weapon, but instead, what DICE have done here is separate the visual stuff entirely from the gameplay stuff, apart from the scopes. Now there are positives and negatives to that, and I think we've also got to take into account that during the Second World War, I imagine that weapon upgrades like we're used to in games like BF3 and BF4 didn't exist, at least in that sort of form. I'm sure that weapons were modified, but was it done enough to have an entire customization system built on it? I'm not so sure. Gameplay and visual are separate, that's the way DICE have gone with it, we've got to live with that. So this skill tree then, let's work with that. The main problem is actually a pretty obvious one when you think about it, and it's in the name. Weapon upgrades. The options are direct improvements and upgrades to your weapon. There are no side grades, no negatives, nothing like that in fact. If it says you get faster aim down the sight or faster bullets, then that's exactly what you'll get. If it says you get better hipfire, you don't get, say, slower aim down the sight speed as a disadvantage or a trade-off there. Nope. Straight upgrades, weapon upgrades. This of course brings with it a few issues. First of all, the weapons are already pretty good without any upgrades at all, as we found out during the first and second alpha, because back then in those builds of the game, the upgrade system wasn't available for us to play with. Weapons in the alpha seemed skillful and you could learn the spray pattern of the STG or the bullet drop of the Kar 98 by simply playing and practicing. And then in the beta, when upgrades got involved, they make the weapons considerably easier to use with 0 downsides. That's the problem. When you put attachments on your weapon in previous Battlefield games, say BF4, each attachment was designed for a certain purpose. For example, the angled grip gave you better first shot accuracy, but a slower spread decrease as a result. The compensator gave you less horizontal recoil, but more spread per shot. There were upsides and downsides. You could pick attachments that fit with your playstyle, knowing that you'd be better in some circumstances but worse in others. With the current BF5 system that was in the open beta, you can upgrade your hipfire and yet still be just as good at the distance shooting. Certainly not any worse than you were before. So all you're doing is simply making your weapon significantly better the longer you play with it. And this is bad for a couple of reasons. I think one of the main reasons is that if you've played the game for longer, your gun is going to be much better than a person who's just jumping in. Time equals direct power in that circumstance. Now with the sniper rifles, you also have the option to increase bullet velocity to help you better deal with bullet drop. And you even had an option to equip a bayonet in the upgrade section. So if you've got an upgraded sniper rifle, just because you've been playing with it for longer, it's going to be significantly better and easier to aim with and hit targets that are moving and far away at distance. Okay, so DICE are listening to the feedback on this, and during the developer Twitter takeover, Drunksy did suggest that this system was easier to balance, but that they wouldn't be against making changes to it if that was necessary. But of course, making these changes isn't just a simple job of flicking one switch or changing a couple of values. There's all sorts of systems tied to the weapon upgrades. Now, my personal opinion is that you've got to have downsides to each upgrade, and they've got to be meaningful, and they should help you better distinguish the role that you're going to go with on that particular weapon. it's possible that 2 paths on this skill tree just aren't enough, because at its basic level, you're picking between hipfire and aim down the sight accuracy on most of the weapons. So what is the solution? Is there one? Well, I don't think any of us have all of the answers, and I've got no doubt that the system is already being looked at internally and changed to see how it can be tweaked and improved. After all, this is the first time everyone has got their hands on the game in open beta, so I expect that DICE have now got a lot of data to sift through. But I do think that it's too late in the game to have a visual upgrade system, and it's certainly too late to change up the upgrade system entirely. So the first step, at least in my mind, is to have negative aspects to each of the upgrades. I'm not saying that's as simple as it sounds, but I think you need some side grades or negatives to your upgrade, and they've got to be meaningful, otherwise what's the point? Perhaps if DICE didn't want each upgrade to have a negative side effect, then those could be reserved for the absolute strongest upgrades, the ones that are furthest down the tree. That in itself would be a simple improvement. And if we keep using the STG as our reference, mainly because it's available straight away, and I think most players would play as Assault using this rifle in the beginning, so using that as a base, I'd really be interested to hear what upgrade path most people went with in the open beta. Was it right or left? I reckon that most people went right. It'd be cool to see if there are some stats from DICE on that. I think that there are other problems with the upgrade system too. I know that players are frustrated that you can't upgrade when you're in the game. You've got to go back to the menu in your company, and that was really frustrating in the beta, but thankfully DICE are already aware of this, and they are looking at implementing a system that will allow players to upgrade their weapons in game. That will be a huge change. My other problem is the way that the upgrades are applied. When you pick certain upgrades for your weapon, you're stuck with those upgrades. It's not a case at the moment of being able to buy an upgrade on a different path and then change it down the line or backtrack. Once you've done it, it seems to be set in stone, and in the open beta, the only way to change that particular weapon up was to get a new version of the weapon from your armory and buy all of the upgrades again, choosing different ones. I really don't think this is a very efficient system, and I'd prefer it to change. It's so frustrating doing some things in your armory and some in your company. I think they need to kind of merge together, but also you're going to end up with multiple identical weapons with slightly different upgrades. What if you just wanted to change one of the upgrades? Nope, at the moment not possible. You'd need an entirely new weapon, and you'd have to use all of your earned currency to level it up again. I feel that if you've bought an upgrade once, then you should be able to apply it to another variant of the same weapon for free. Let's not forget that the currency you use to buy upgrades is also to get cosmetic items, so you're going to go through that really fast. I just don't want this to turn into a situation where if you want a new version of a weapon, you've got to spend real money to buy it. I think that would be terrible for the game. Wrapping things up, one of the things that I really didn't like about BF1 was the variant system. I just disliked having multiple versions of the same weapon. I wanted a system where I could just take, say, the bar and tweak it to how I wanted it, and if I died and thought, you know what, I'd like to have a longer range scope this time, then I could do it. Or if I wanted a more suppressive version of my weapon rather than one with better hipfire because maybe I want to sit further back, then I could do it. Sadly, this system is leaning more towards those variants, but just variants that I need to change myself, and if you haven't spent the currency on it, then you can't have it. At least one saving grace is that the scopes for the weapon can be attached via the visual customization, so you do at least get to change those on the fly. Finally, I don't think the entire weapon customization system in BF5 is beyond saving. I can see what DICE were trying to achieve with this, but I think it needs some refinement, and hopefully between now and the new release date a few things can be changed. I think some refinement to the purchasing system and the ability to buy a second version of the weapon from that screen would help. When it comes to the upgrades, there needs to be a reason to choose one path over another. There has to be some negatives to those upgrades, and I really hope that they add some in, and they need to make these meaningful and impactful, otherwise what's the point of having them? And that's my take on it, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. How could they improve the weapon upgrade system in BF5? If you enjoyed the video, give me a like. If you didn't, a dislike. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one. One of the biggest complaints in recent months regarding Battlefield 5 has been communication, or the lack of. Details of the game, breakdowns on new features, developer interviews, it's all been very thin on the ground. You have to admit though that recently DICE and EA have stepped up massively and really improved the communication aspect. Recent developer videos have been a fantastic and frank open source of information, and that's been really great to see. Now though, we've got an actual roadmap in front of us of what information we can expect and when to expect it. DICE also very recently revealed that the game will have 2 years full of free content post-release. The Tides of War is planned to span for exactly 2 years. Now then, in September, we've already had one developer video with UX designer Natalie Eck, franchise director Daniel Berlin, and multiplayer producer David Serland. It was a great video with tons of information. Maybe it went on a bit too long for most people at 50 minutes, but more recently we had another one which went on for about 20, which was a lot more concise, and today we've just had a massive blog post covering the classes and combat roles that we can expect in BF5 when the game launches. So I'm going to go into those in a bit more detail in just a second. So in October we're going to get more information on the maps of BF5. We already know that 8 maps will be in the game at launch, and we've had a few teases of them here and there, but that's about it. More detail on the maps themselves and their historical relevance is coming. Also in October, we're going to hear more about weapons and vehicles. So details about how you will upgrade and customize them, as well as more details about what vehicles and weapons you can expect to get your hands on. War Stories is another area that will be touched on in October, with very little detailed information so far about the single player experience. I wonder why they've kept it so quiet. Maybe they've realised that most Battlefield players don't really care much for the single player experience. Tides of War is next, and that is a big one because that's the live service that we're getting with BF5, so more detail will be given on what that entails. Like I said, we know it's 2 years now, but we'll also find out what exactly is coming in terms of content drops and timed events. And I hope you all haven't forgotten about co-op, or combined arms as they're calling it, because we are also going to be getting some detail on that too. More details on how it's going to work, and more importantly, when we're going to be able to play it. Last of all, and arguably the big one, Firestorm Battle Royale. At some point in October, DICE are going to be taking the lid off Firestorm, the upcoming BR mode. I'm not sure what they're going to reveal, but I'm sure it will be very interesting to see what Criterion have been up to. I hope that they just release some raw gameplay of it and let people see a full round or something like that. That would be great. And that's all we're going to get for October. A lot of information in the build up to release, and in November before release we'll also get some more info on Grand Operations. Okay, so earlier I mentioned that we had a lot of new details about classes and combat roles in the blog today, and thanks to that blog we've got a nice bit of info and detail on each class, so we're going to take a look at that now, starting with the Assault class. Of course, the core of the Assault class we already know about. This is the class that's best equipped to take out vehicles, and to do so you're going to be given gadgets which are fit for purpose, like Dynamite and the Panzerfaust being two things that will help you with that task. And on top of that, Assault has weapons capable of being strong against infantry too. You'll get assault rifles and semi-auto rifles, and to start with you get the rifle grenade launcher and the sticky dynamite. One thing we haven't yet seen though for the Assault class are the combat roles, and these are tied to individual classes, and the idea is that you pick a class and then a combat role within that class that best suits your playstyle. Each class gets 2 combat roles at launch, and these will be expanded upon using the live Tides of War service. One combat role will be equipped as default and the other unlocked by playing the game. And for Assault, the light infantry combat role is the default starting option, and this comes with a few traits. Interesting. One of those is Scavenger, and that will allow you to find more ammo on defeated enemies and fallen comrades. Alongside that, you'll have Battle Hardened, which regenerates a higher amount of health than other combat roles. So this feels like a good combat role for players who like to play quite aggressive. you're going to find more ammo and you're going to regen more health when you get shot. Playing as Assault, then you'll unlock the Tank Buster combat role, and as you can imagine, this one is set up to make you more valuable at taking out vehicles. Before we get onto the traits of the Tank Buster, it's worth noting that if you destroy a spotted tank, you will gain 1 extra requisition point that will help you call in squad reinforcements, like the V1 rocket for example. When it comes to the traits of the Tank Buster, you get the following. Tank Painter, which means that any vehicle you damage becomes spotted, and not just for you or your squad, but for the entire team, just by damaging it. Maybe a bit too much, we'll see. Also Tank Scrapper, which means that vehicles you destroy yield extra requisition points, so like I mentioned earlier, these are used to call in squad reinforcements. So out of those two, the basic combat role seems better for players who want to focus on infantry, although you have to say that the role of the Assault is to combat vehicles, but that combat role here doesn't really aid in taking out vehicles, it simply gives you better rewards for damaging and destroying them. So the next class, Medic. It's pretty obvious what the overall role of the medic is, to heal and revive people. Revives and squad revives have been made snappier since the first alpha, and so medics can revive people much easier than they previously could. They still have an element of risk, mind you, but that's part of the game. Medics come equipped with SMGs here, and that's the only weapon type that they'll have available to them. As default, they'll also get the medical pouch and the smoke grenade launcher as their gadgets. You might be wondering where the revive syringe is. Well, don't worry, in BF5 all medics have the syringe by default now. It no longer takes up a gadget slot. That's a great change in my opinion. No excuse for a medic to not revive you. Okay, so what about combat roles for the medic? Well, the default one is called Field Medic. This is the one that is unlocked by default, and it gives you 2 traits. The first is called Healer. This gives you additional requisition points when you supply medical pouches to teammates. It also gives you another trait called Swift Effort, which allows you to sprint faster when calling out to a downed friendly soldier. So that's when you tag them or you press Q to say that you're coming to revive them. I quite like that trait, that's an interesting one. And the second combat role is called Combat Medic, and this one needs to be unlocked by playing as Medic. The 2 traits for Combat Medic are Melee Expert and Emergency Retreat. Emergency Retreat gives you faster sprint when at critical health, and Melee Expert means that all of your melee attacks automatically take down enemies. Now, it's a bit vague, but I'm guessing that means from all angles rather than just a rear takedown. Although I'd prefer it if the only way you could do a takedown was from behind. Moving on to Recon. Recon has been changed quite a bit from BF1. The sweet spot is gone, weapons are harder to use, it's a bit of a difference, but it seemed that players were quick to adapt during the beta. Weapon upgrades help out some of the snipers too when it comes to bullet speed. Snipers of course get bolt action rifles as well as self-loading rifles, and their starter gadgets are the spotting scope and the Betty bomb. I'm not sure how many players were utilising the spotting scope during the beta, but it's very good and it's one of the only ways in BF5 to get a hard 3D spot on a player. The default combat role for sniper is called, wait for it, Sniper. It gives you a trait called Steady Hands, which lets you steady your rifle when aiming down the sights for longer, and it also grants you the trait called Expert Marksman, which means your steady duration is partially replenished for each headshot that you get. So this will definitely be a good combat role for players who are good at nailing those headshots consistently, rewarding skill. The second combat role is called Pathfinder, and this one has some really interesting traits, arguably one of the most interesting so far I'd say. Advanced Scouting lets you spawn on any squad leader on the team, and on any active spawn beacon regardless of what squad you're in. Now that is extremely powerful. The second trait is called Vanguard, and this gives you extra requisition points when someone spawns on your spawn beacon. If I've read that correctly, then that's going to give a lot of maneuverability to the scout class, and I wonder if they've done that to try and encourage scouts to play around the map more and play the objective rather than just standing back on a hill somewhere. You can't really do that though as much anymore because of attrition. And last but not least, we've got Support. In BF5, the Support class has had an interesting role. Of course, they can repair vehicles, and just like the Medic Syringe is given by default, it's the same for the repair tool on Support. They can also build fortifications much faster than other classes and build offensive options too. There's a few defensive things they can build too that other classes can't, and I think they're the only class that can build things like ladders and bridges. And support have some really strong weapons now too. By default they've got the ammo pouch and the anti-tank mine, and they can use the light machine guns and medium machine guns. The base combat role here is called Engineer. This gives you the traits Vehicle Fixer and Heavy Weapons Expert. Vehicle Fixer lets you repair and build fortifications faster than any other combat role, so you would definitely use this if repairing and playing defensively is your cup of tea. And Heavy Weapons Expert lets you fire static weapons and mounted vehicle weapons for longer before they overheat. The second combat role that you'll need to unlock is called Machine Gunner, and this lets you have increased suppression with a trait called Bullet Storm. Remember though, suppression is only visual in this game, and it will automatically spot enemies when you suppress them with a trait called Focused Fire. Now, wrapping things up, not an awful lot has been said about combat roles just yet. Of course, we did get to see the support combat role in the beta, but there are definitely some interesting ones in there, and I'm interested to see what you guys think about this. There are some cool traits in there, some that maybe are a bit questionable. But what do you guys think about this, and what could DICE come up with to add down the line? But the information drop that we got today really shows how it should have been done months ago. This information was key, and I think it should have been revealed in the past, but whatever, it's here now, we're getting it, and I think DICE are currently doing a good job of giving us regular tasters and information about the game. With that said, that's all for today guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you didn't, a dislike. Subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.